Hi, Danica here, and I build WordPress membership sites. And in this video, I want to show you one of the tasks that I am working on. Specifically, this is using Infusionsoft or Keap and PlusThis. So the task is to calculate a certain list in Keap. Especially in this case, these are members. So we want to know who are those customers or members who have stayed with us for at least 35 days. So we have this set up. So this is what I've done. So the first thing is, so let me just show you because we have this list here. So I created a custom field that will handle or hold the value. So example, this one under customer value, we have this. So number of days as a TODT member. And then this one is a temporary field to check if members stayed for more than 35 days. So we needed this value because we're trying to calculate it, but I'm gonna explain that exactly how it works. So in PlusThis, I set up so two fields or two tools here. So the first one is to calculate the number of days as a member, so it's this one, and then tag contact if they stayed for more than 35 days as a TODT member. So that's that one. So the first one is this. So calculate time between events. So if you are a PlusThis member, you should have these options. So in this case, whenever we have a members for this account, we have some status tag, and one of those is the members active tag and members inactive tag. So in here we have calculate the amount of time between the following events. So event 1, the date a tag was applied. So we're trying to capture, or we're trying to identify the date a tag was applied, and you have different options here. So the date a tag applied, contact was created, and so on. So you have that options, but in this account, since we have this status tag, we are basing our setup for that one. So this one, it's asking for which tag, and we want to know the date a tag was applied for the status active tag. So we want to pull that, and then event 2, that the date a tag was applied this time is the inactive tag. So we also want to know when they become inactive. So after that, we have different options here. You could select a time zone if you really want to be specific, especially if you know which time zone does your list belong to. And then the second one is where should we store the result. So where should we store the result? In here. That's why I created this field. So number of days as a TODT member. So that's the one that I'm pulling here. But you could create different fields using this plus button. And you could also call your existing one from here. Then additional options, as you can see, which unit of time should we store? You could select that. This one I'm just basing it for days. And then do not round. So we are just basing that, keeping that as a default, but you could customize this. So we're storing that value in this field, and then we also run this compare field. So in here it says field 1, number of days as a TODT member. Comparator is greater than, so the number of days as a TODT member, which is this one, must be greater than, and that's the purpose why we have this temporary field that I created, and I manually assign the 35 days because what the client wants is they want to know the list of contacts who stayed for at least 35 days, more than 35 days. So that's why we have that. So we need to have a value that we could compare before we apply a tag. So in here, number of days as a TODT member. So after you run this to your contact, you should have a value here, and then after that, then you're gonna run this. Since you have the value, it will know if it needs to apply this tag. So that's the setup in PlusThis. But in Infusionsoft or Keap, what you need to do is create this flow. So example, you need to have a start, whatever that is. You could also use internal forms or so on, but this one is just an example. So here is, I need to first run this, calculate the number of days, that one, and then after that I'm gonna wait for maybe 15 minutes. So I'm gonna add that, and then I'm gonna run the final one, which is the tagging the contact. So basically that's the setup. So depending on how you need to trigger this campaign or automation, so you need to decide that, but basically this is the flow. You need to have some waiting period because it's gonna take some time before this process complete, depending on how large your list is. So in here, what you need to do is to grab the send HTTP post, and then you need to grab this capital URL. This is for the calculate the number of days as a TODT member, and then you paste that here. Next is we add some waiting period. So here, let's add some 15 minutes waiting. 15 minutes, and then it could be any day, anytime. Save, and then lastly is to tag them if they have stayed for more than 35 days, which is the next setup that we did. So we're gonna run this, assign a send HTTP post, and then save that. Okay, now please note that in my explanation earlier, you need to have a temporary value. So what I suggest you do, well, this one I manually assign that, but what I suggest you do is before this calculate the number of days, what you're gonna do is you need to insert a new sequence that will assign the value to compare. So set temp value to compare, because it needs to have something that it could compare, or else it's not gonna run properly. So depending on what that is for your case, but for this one, I'm gonna grab the set field value, and then I'm gonna call the temp set field value temp this one, and then I'm gonna set this to 35 days, since in this case they wanna know, they wanna compare to the number 35, number of days. So they need to they require to make it at least 35 days. So that's the setup, and of course once this is ready, you could publish this, and then whatever trigger you need to set, you can set that in there. Now at the end, I suggest that there should always be a start and the end whenever you create this campaign. So the end goal for this is to have that tag applied. So it's that tag where it says stayed for more than 35 days. So once that tag is applied, we're going to consider that this automation or process is complete. Now, I want to change this to run until it's completed, just to make sure, but that it's complete before we actually exit the contact. So that's it. I hope this video helps, and if you have any question regarding PlusThis, Fusionsoft, or about this setup, you could comment that down below, and maybe I'm gonna cover that in my next videos. But yeah, I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Bye.